Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're setting up a Kyocera Command Center on a taskalfa. This is the 01 series, 3051 to be exact. So when you first set up the machine, put in an IP, whether it's static or DHCP, go over your web utility or the web browser on a computer and you can enter in the IP address to set it up. First time on entering the copier, it's going to ask you to continue. This is because it's not a, can't verify the security certificate of the device. So this is fine, just continue. And then you'll want to log in using the username and password admin with a capital A. And then we'll start setting up the device. So the first thing we want to do on this copier is we want to go to device settings, and we'll just start with the top. So the first thing is we want to make sure our energy saver is set to the correct time. You either want the sleep to be 30 or 60 or the low power to be 30 or 60. So go ahead and set that and hit submit. Next thing on the list is the date and time. By default, this is all turned off, so you want to turn on summertime, and you can set it manually if need be, or you can sync with a time server. I use the time server to verify that DNS is working on the machine, so that I know my email and everything else will be working. So I go ahead and type in time.windows.com, hit submit. The submit will be the synchronize will be grayed out until you put this in. And if you're setting up the first time and you don't have DNS or anything, this will fail. In this case, it's already working, so it's successful. That tells us two things: that your machine has access to the internet and the DNS is working properly. So we'll reboot the machine once we get everything entered in. That way we know it works. So the next thing, we're going to go to System. And this is where you're going to enter in your asset number or ID number of the machine, the location of the office or their business name. That will show up here in the top. So once you enter these in, go ahead and hit submit. And we'll move on to setting up the fax. So in this one has a fax, so we'll go down here to function settings and choose fax. And this is where you would put in your fax name. So we'll say, oops, customer. And I would recommend doing this in all caps. It's easier to read on the fax pages. And for the phone number, I would recommend putting spaces in between each to make it more readable. And then if the customer requests, I usually ask them if they want the fax monitor volume muted. That way they don't hear the fax tones. And the last thing I do is I up the ring count for the redial on this machine. So I'll change this from 2 to 6 and hit submit. Okay, TTI is set. We're going to move on to setting up the network and email settings. So go to network settings on the left over here and go to TCP IP. So normally by default, when you plug in a machine, it'll be on DHCP, or you can change it to static. Go ahead and enter in your IP address, subnet mask, and gateway. And then you also can enter your DNS settings. These can be from your ISP, your router, gateway, or your own custom ones. I'm using OpenDNS, which is 208.67.222.222, and the alternative OpenDNS server below. Once you've done these things, ensure that IPv6 is off and hit submit. Note that these won't take effect until reboot. If you need a reboot, simply go back to the TCP page. There's a reset option at the bottom. You can click that and click restart device. So the next thing we want to do here is we're going to go to protocol under the network settings. So under here you want to scroll down to SMTP, and we're going to turn this from off to on. And then we'll also choose the security that we need to set up email. In some cases we don't have any security if it's an internal network, but most times we'll use a Gmail account. We'll use start TLS for the security. So hit submit. Note you do not have to restart the copier for changing these settings. It will prompt you though when you do. So we'll go back to this time for email. We're done with network. So for email we go to function settings, go to email, and we're going to enter in all the appropriate settings. So we've already turned on the SMT protocol, and now we want to enter in our SMTP server name. We're using Gmail in this case, so that's easy. You can use name or IP address, it doesn't matter. The port number is 25 by default. In this case, Gmail's port that uses start TLS is 587. If you use SSL TLS, that uses port 465, so enter it accordingly. You cannot mix and match these security types and ports. So once you change that, turn on authentication. It's off by default. And then choose other for your authenticate as. And then enter in your username and password. And then once you're done with this, we scroll down, enter in the full email address, and hit submit. Once all your information is, and you want to start testing it to see if it works, jump back to network and TCP/IP and restart the device. So we'll hit reset and restart. Alright, we're back again. So you can wait for the page to come back manually, or you can refresh it yourself. Roughly after 30 seconds, it should be good. So you have to log back in again. So we'll log in with admin, capital A. And just to verify everything's working, we'll start with device and go to date and time. Hit synchronize on your time server. When that says you're successful, you may have to try it a couple times if it fails the first time. We're good. Now let's go to email and we'll verify this is working. So go to function and then email. Hit the test button on that. If everything's entered correctly, you'll get OK. And the last step is to set up the actual maintenance reporting of the machine. To do that, we're going to go down to maintenance settings, notification report, and then we'll scroll down a little bit here. So what we want to do is we can set up the maintenance report to let you know so when the machine needs maintenance, and the event report for when that needs toner and sending counts. So I personally like the event report best, so we'll enter in the office phone email address here. And then what you want to do is enter in for the subject line the customer name, space, the ID number, space, or asset tag, and then put a space here. Leave the printer event mail there. That %printer will be the model of the machine. And then the last couple things you want to do is add toner, checkbox, counter stats. That way every time the machine asks for toner, that'll send an email to the office. And then lastly here, we're going to choose the interval for sending the reports. We're going to choose monthly. And this will be listed on the paperwork, what you want to set it up to. I would highly recommend sending it to 9 a.m. Most offices are open by then, and the email should send if they had turned the machine off. Hit submit down at the bottom, and then you can hit send, and it'll tell you if it's sent or failed. You may need further troubleshooting if it fails. That you could be on a special domain network. You may need to reach out to the IT. This concludes the setup for a Kyocera taskalfa 1. Thank you very much.